Hello, and welcome to Hire the Right Whom, Team DNA that transforms an organization by myself, Omar L. Harris. A little bit about me to start. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I am a Cancer for all you June and July babies out there. I attended the illustrious Florida A&M University. Had a 20 plus year career in the global pharmaceutical industry in the US, Middle East, Latin America, and Asia before transitioning into my own consultancy, where now I am a consultant, a speaker, trainer, coach, author, founder, and a screenwriter, even. And I would describe myself as an optimist, change catalyst, and innovator. And it's within that capacity of innovator that I come to you today. Because innovation begins and ends with the right people. Without the right people on board and without them sharing and pursuing a shared vision and purpose, it's very difficult to ultimately innovate. So ultimately, talking about technology innovation, you cannot talk about these subjects without talking about people. We can talk about all the trends in the world, AI and augmented reality and any of these things, but ultimately at the back end of all of them, and in the front end in multiple cases is our humans. And here are some examples. For example, we would not have achieved the COVID-19 mRNA vaccines without scientists like Catalin Carrico and Drew Weissman, who pioneered the technology. It was people who did this. Or AI-driven initiatives for ocean cleanup. We know that the ocean needs to be cleaned, and we have microplastics invading our food chain, and this is really, really a big problem. But here, people are coming together in nonprofits and startups like the Ocean Cleanup and Clear Blue Sea to really be significant players in this space. There's innovation happening to increase more accessible education through augmented reality technology. And startups like Labster, populated by people, have been pioneers in integrating augmented reality into education. So, without the right people, it is really impossible to innovate and deliver technology. However, when teams don't function well, innovation becomes very, very challenging. So basically, this is what happens when groups of people come together is they are at odds with each other, everyone moving in a different direction and not knowing how they're going to coalesce to actually achieve their collective goal. The key concept here comes from a book that came out in the early 2000s called From Good to Great by Jim Collins. And in this book, there are several principles that were basically defined via a study of 10 what they call good to great companies versus who delivered 10 times or 30 times stock market results versus a comparator group over the course of 30 years. And one of the key principles of this book is called first who, then what. And this principle really means that the best organizations focus on getting the right people on the bus before they decide where they want to go. The right people come on the bus before they decide where they want to go. So today's leaders, we have to go beyond education, experience, and pedigree and identify the attributes that will lead to high performance teams and organizations. So I showed in the previous slide about all of disorganization happens. Well, there's a hiring mechanism that I'm going to introduce to you that actually allows you to hack that process and get people on the same page much faster. It's by hiring for the right, what I call team DNA. This ultimately comes down to what matters more, the whom, work ethic, heart, optimism, maturity, and we'll get into more detail about that in a few seconds, or the typical things we look at when we're hiring people, like experience, education, pedigree, or even references. And hopefully by the end of this presentation, you will agree with me that behavioral attributes, team DNA, ultimately will lead to greater innovation than just having the right set of experiences, having gone to the right university, or having the right pedigree, or even how your friends and ex-colleagues speak of you. So let's talk about the first concept of the whom, which is work ethic. Work ethic really is defined by reliability, dedication, productivity, cooperation, and discipline. This really matters. Work ethic is fundamental because time is money in business, and business revolves around employee productivity. So you can't have productivity without work ethic. It's about will. It's about wanting to complete. It's about wanting to finish what we start. And either employees possess it or they have to be incentivized to do it. It's better to have employees who are internally motivated and internally driven versus having to continuously have incentives to drive people's productivity. I hope you would agree with that. So here's how you source for individuals with strong work ethic. First of all, work ethic looks like, when you to see it, it looks like people who are focused on doing it right the first time. They're efficient and they deliver on time and on schedule. That's what it looks like. That's how you see work ethic. It sounds like people saying things like, I always clarify expectations before I start a project. And I want full accountability for delivery. When you hear these words, these phrases, this is the indication that you are dealing with somebody with very strong work ethic. And it acts like people who are disciplined and fast paced. They move quickly, but they have process and they have structure for how they go about their work. Moving on to heart. Heart is all about values, motivators, hobbies, goals, energizer, generosity, and courage. Heart really matters because right now, very few employees are actually engaged at work. So once again, you can do the really, really hard work of trying to figure out how to engage today's employees. We have 5 generations working together at the same time, from the Zoomers to the Boomers, as people say. And every group needs something different to engage them. But if you hire people who are naturally engaged, who are naturally goal oriented, who possess strong values, who are naturally enthusiastic and curious, then this will magically begin to improve the engagement of your organization by bringing in that right DNA from the start. So, sourcing for individuals with a high heart, what does it look like? Well, it looks like smiling and leaning in. It's contagious energy. You can feel it when you're in the presence of somebody who has high heart. What does it sound like? I love a challenge. I'm proud of the impact I get to make in my work. These are the things you want to hear when you're talking to somebody with high heart. And what does it act like? It acts like bringing people together and readily giving praise. Someone who's generous with praise. These are people who have high heart. They are natural people engagers throughout your organization, and they're worth their weight in gold. Next attribute is optimism, which is about agility, flexibility, judgment, and resilience. And optimism really matters because we know that so many strategic plans ultimately fail, and failure is a part of success. So you need solution orientation, people who are resilient, people who are curious, and who are not going to be deterred by obstacles and pitfalls on the way to success. And so your optimists are your natural problem solvers that never give up, and they infuse your team with the element of resilience that you need to ultimately deliver innovation. So sourcing with a high optimism looks like people who are into root cause analysis, people who leverage decision trees and other structures to help them solve problems. It sounds like I've never let failure stop me from improving. And the more stressful the situation, the better I become. Music to some of you's ears, I imagine. And it acts like I'm analytical, fact-based, and I'm undeterred by setbacks. Basically, keep moving forward despite inevitable setbacks. Last but not least in the whom is maturity, which is about decisiveness, diplomacy, self-awareness, and attitude. Really, really core attributes to have. And this really matters because we know that teams are going to pass through storming and forming stages as they come together. And we want to make sure that people with maturity, they can move through storming much faster because they value performance over politics. Performance over politics. And they insulate your team from descending into chaos. They're natural referees who understand what's happening. They've been there before. They understand that this is natural and that productivity comes from productive conflict. So when you source for individuals who have high maturity, you're looking for what it looks like is people who can have conflict productively, and people who are ultimately calm and poised despite the amount of stress or what's going around them in the whirlwind. It sounds like I know I'm better as part of a team. This is really someone with high maturity. Or I trust first and with ease. People who give trust are people who are naturally mature. And what it acts like is people who are forgiving and who are tactful. So this is really, really important for us in our organizations in order for us to innovate. Now imagine the innovative capacity of a team full of these attributes, full of work ethic, reality driven, productivity focused, finish what we start, full of heart, shared passion, high engagement, combining strengths to minimize weaknesses, full of optimism, solution oriented, resilient, curious, full of maturity, transparent, open to positive and corrective feedback, managing conflict productively. This is the key, the root of innovation, having a team comprised of individuals with these capabilities. And if you want to learn more about how to hire the right whom, then please connect with me. I'm happy to help and serve and support you. Once again, this is Omar L. Harris. You can reach me at omar@omarlharris.com, my website, omarlharris.com, or on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/n/Omar L. Harris. Thank you very much.